Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. How are you doing? Season 3, episode 6 already. Whoop whoop. So today's focus is going to be on the psychic frequency, and hopefully if you're listening to this, you have listened to Season 3, Episode 1, Finessing Frequencies, and if you haven't, I would suggest that you go back and listen to that one first. It's not that I don't want you here, it's just that it will all make a lot more sense if you do. So we're focusing on the psychic frequency today, and as I said in that first episode, this is that frequency which I think there's a slight snobbery about. Oh, you're only doing psychic. You're not really communicating with spirit, that kind of thing. And it's also the frequency that people don't really understand that they're in. Now, I love the psychic frequency. I think it's incredibly useful, and one of the main things that I love about it is when we are a human being, as most of you listening are, perhaps not all, we have a tendency that you may recognise to get a little overworked mentally. We are very overstimulated, especially in the current time frame that we're in. And we have a tendency to overthink things, to ignore things, to be in our conditioning, in our programming, and our energy body will reflect that, but it will also reflect our potentials, our possibilities, the information that perhaps we need to hear. So if you go for a psychic reading or you have a psychic reading, it will give you a chance to get clarity on where your energy body is at, what is going on for you. Now, as you will have heard me say on this podcast before, I don't believe in future predictions in the way that they are often presented. Like I'm Mystic Meg and I'm going to tell you what is coming up for you, because we create our own futures on an ongoing basis in every moment. I absolutely, completely believe that. I also believe that if you're having a bad day, I don't know why I want to add this, but I do. It doesn't mean that you've changed your future, because you can easily go back to your aligned space. It's not that you can never go back on it. It's just that it changes, it evolves due to our choices, our energetic state, our mental state, our emotional state, where we're allowing ourselves to be. But when you have a psychic reading, your medium can pick up your potentials. And that is sometimes a very wonderful energy to sit in. It's something I very much enjoy, because there's almost two sides to me. There is the side of me that is my spirit, that believes I'm limitless, that believes there is unlimited potential for me. I can do whatever I put my mind to it. The opportunities are there. And then there is my human side. And my human side goes, yeah, but can you though? And if you could, wouldn't have that happened already? And aren't you greedy for asking for that? And shouldn't you be embarrassed and feel a little bit of shame for asking for that one? And actually, I don't think you deserve this. And if this was possible, anybody would be doing it. And it's constantly bringing in that energy, so very yin and yang. And so when you go for a psychic reading, just for a moment, you get to quieten that voice and listen to your potential from somebody else. And that is magnifico. It's one of my favourite things, is reading for somebody, and then when they leave you, you can see that their energy field is bigger and brighter and more open, and they believe in themselves a little bit more than they did when they came in. It's so gratifying for them and for you as a medium. Now, of course, You have no control over what people do when they leave. And if somebody leaves my company after a reading and decides that now is a good time to go to see their family and dredge up all the hurt that was caused 10 years ago that they've been wanting to talk about, and then suddenly spirals back into a doom cycle, that's nothing you can do about that. But just for that moment when they're in your presence, I believe a good psychic reading is about your potential. Now, within that, of course, sometimes our physical or emotional or the experiences that we've had can cause us to limit our potential or weigh our potential down. And I often say it's a bit like a hot air balloon. If you've got a hot air balloon that's got 1,000 sandbags on it, it doesn't matter how much hot air you blow into the top, that hot air balloon is not going to rise. And it's the same with trying to manifest things or trying to create the life that you want or trying to raise your vibration. If you're still holding on to things that need to be healed, that need to be set down, if you're still doing things exactly the same as you have been for the last 10 years, then things aren't going to change. You can blow as many positive affirmations, potential, hope up into the top, but you're still going to be weighed down by those sandbags. And so you can go for a psychic reading and somebody can draw your attention to your sandbags, because sometimes there's stuff going on that you're not even conscious of. There's stuff going on in your energy that needs to be acknowledged, that needs to be cleared, that needs to be stopped, that needs to be put down. And unless somebody tells you, or you spend some time checking it for yourself, you might not potentially know that. So psychic is great for that. It's great for that. And I love doing auragraphs. I know I mentioned colour in the last episode, but colour for me is just so much fun if you allow yourself not to be limited in an X plus Y equals Z. You know, red equals this, blue equals this, green equals this. Chuck that rule book in the bin. Feel into it. Have an experience with that colour that you're feeling, that you're knowing, that you're seeing, that you're getting. And as you go with that, what does it tell you? Now, if you've listened to episode 1, you will know that when we're talking about seeing, we don't necessarily mean that you look at somebody in this physical space and you can see the colour over them. Sometimes that does happen as you develop more and get more used to it, but it's not a permanent thing for me. I don't look at somebody and get a snapshot of their entire aura that I just note down. It evolves with my knowing. It's more of a knowing for me always. I just know what colour it is and I know where it should go, and I follow that and it tells me a story. So as a reminder, when you're working in psychic, you will sometimes hear words, you will sometimes get feelings, you will sometimes get knowings, you might get smells, tastes, everything like that. And that's how we interpret all forms of energy. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're communicating with a spirit. As a reminder, for me, psychic is energy to energy in this physical space. It's here. So there's many ways to develop your psychic abilities. And what I would like you to do to begin with is start by tuning in to your own energy field. What, Hannah? No, boring. But it's not. It's really important. And there's 2 reasons for that. Number 1, you need to have as clearer energy as possible to make your signal as strong and clear as possible. If you have got loads of congestion in your energy field, if you're filled with all your sandbags and all your stuff, then that energy has got to move through the filter of those. It makes it much harder to perceive and receive energy when your stuff is getting in the way. But also, it's still really, really valid. And I honestly believe as we're moving into this new stream of mediums and frequencies and energies and understandings, we are drawn to people that resonate with the energy of those that have really done the work, those that have integrated the lessons. And I don't mean done all of the work, because anyone that tells you that they've done it all is talking at the bottom. But I do mean who are doing the integration, who are doing the reflection, who are doing the work. And that will make your energy feel different. So when you are working psychically with somebody, their knowing will, even if it's subconscious, will know that you are speaking from a place of, I have done this, I have been here, I understand it. I think that all readings are teaching. Whether you call yourself a teacher or not, you are teaching. And the idea is that you give the people that you work with the information that they need to move forward with clarity and ease on their path. It's not that you hold them tightly to you so that they need you forever. It's that you give them the tools to set them free. And I think that really we resonate with people the most who are coming from a space of doing the work, have done the work, have been where you have been, can understand the journey that's ahead for you. It's a bit like having a life coach who still lives at home with their parents. Now, if they choose to live at home with their parents, that's different. But I'm talking about those ones that you see that were kind of like, I don't know what I want to do for a living. Oh, that looks woo-woo. I'll do an online course on that and set myself up and tell people I have the answers. I get a lot of people on social media telling me that they can change my social media. They can change the number of followers that I've got. And you go through to their social media and they've got 600 followers. And you think, well, if you can't do it for yourself, what makes you think that I'm going to trust you to do it for me? And it's the same with all forms of mediumship. It's not about being perfect, but it is about having done some of it yourself, having done some of the work, put yourself into that space. So that's why I want you to start with you. And I want you to start by sitting somewhere quietly and just tuning in to your body, your physical being, first of all, and asking your physical self what it has to say, what it wants to tell you. Now, it might talk to you in words. It might talk to you in feelings. It might talk to you in colours. You might not even be aware of how it talks to you, but your energy will respond. So you start by saying to your body, what do you need? What do you want? And then whatever it tells you, you do it. You trust it. You listen to it. You give it. And then you take action on it. You trust whatever you get, no matter how simple, no matter how silly, and you do it. You do what your body asks you for. And you follow that every day. So whether it's an early night, a long hot bath, tomatoes, vegetable soup, more water, you just do what it asks, what you feel like you need to do. And you do that every day. And I know it doesn't seem like much, but you start to feel into that and you start to trust it. Because as you start to give yourself what you need, you start to realise that it was correct. And yes, of course, you could just know that. You could know that you need an early night because you know that you didn't sleep very well yesterday. But just go with it anyway and start moving into that space of interpreting, understanding and receiving energy. And when you feel ready, can you hear the banging? I've got the roofers in. I don't know if you can hear it. It's making me laugh that I went to all of this effort to get rid of the echo in my studio. And now I've got people banging on my roof above me. But hey ho, it is what it is. We have to just go with it. Anyway, so you've started listening to your body. And then I want you to start to listen to your own energy field. Start tuning in with just intention. I'm going to read my own energy field. I'm going to feel into it. And for me, when I first started, I used to visualize it like a big ball of messed up wool with lots of threads all together. And I would see whichever thread got my attention first and I would follow it. So sometimes when you're reading your energy, for example, you might think, oh, that bit doesn't feel very good. There's something there. And as you follow it, you realize that you're a bit frustrated and annoyed at the moment. And you know that about yourself. So that's not news. You're following that. But as you follow it, all of a sudden, as you pull on that thread in your mind and you follow that energy, you realize that it's actually to do with something that somebody said to you 3 years ago. What the heck? And they said this thing about how you're never going to make it. And now you've been pushing to make it so hard that it's actually time to let that go and let that idea go and be in that flow with the universe where you know that you will make it eventually. And you don't need to hold on to that person's comment. And for me, I just pull the thread until it finishes, and I imagine myself dropping it and letting it go, trying to release it from my energy. But there's also an understanding there that that's something that I need to process, sit with and work through. So opening up to things like that, following that path, and that's just an example. There are so many different things that sit in your energy field. And if you've got a friend, I hope you've got at least one, but if you've got a friend who's interested in this kind of stuff, and if not, feel free to use the Mediumship Matters podcast Facebook group. You can ask if anyone would like to practice with you, because one of the great things to do is sit there in front of somebody and just set your intention to tune into the psychic frequency and send your energy over to them and see what you can feel and just go for it. And it's such a weird quagmire mix of different things that you will get. 1 minute it will be bananas, and the next minute it'll be a line from a song, and then it'll be a colour, and the colour means this, and you feel like the colour is condensed around this part of their body, and then it will be a feeling of this, and then you'll see there's this emotion, and you'll know that this emotion is old, but it's still present in their energy system. But the only way to know what's going to come up is to just sit in that vulnerable state and feel into it. So start with yourself. And then when you feel brave, or maybe not brave, but you know that you have to really, and you have to get on with it, then I really recommend trying to find somebody else to work with. Because, of course, whenever you read for yourself, you're always going to have that voice in your head saying, but you could be making this up because you know this about yourself. And unfortunately, that doesn't go anywhere while you're working on yourself. Now, it doesn't go anywhere when you're working with anybody else either, just to be clear, but at that stage, when you start getting things about people that you have no way of knowing and no way of understanding, that really does help. Another fun thing to do with your own energy is mental state, emotional state really impacts the size of our auric field. So you know how when you're having a tough time and you're feeling really unhappy and really miserable, you feel more tired? Well, it's because your aura has actually shrunk because of your negative state that you're in. That's no shade, that's just how it is. So one of the things you can do is just try and get a bearing by moving your hands, palms out in your energy field, and see where you feel like the edge of your aura is. And experiment with that. If you're having a day where humanity have got right on your nerves and you actually think you might be Michael Douglas part 2 in falling down and stab somebody, because we all have days like that, feel your aura in that space. It will be smaller. When you're having a really good day and you're singing your favourite song and you're feeling really good, take a moment to feel your aura in that space. You may not even be able to reach the edges of it. And that's a really interesting thing to do. And you can sometimes physically feel it on your palms as you move your hands across. You can physically feel that energy. And while we're talking about palms, one of the fun things to do with energy and psychic and in this space is to send energy between the chakras on your palms, which chakras, for those of you who don't know, but I think most people know, are energy centres in the body. People get ever so obsessed with them. I'm more on the fence, but we'll go with there. There's energy centres in the palms of your hands. Put them I don't know, 20 centimetres apart. It doesn't have to be specific. Don't get out a ruler, but just a little bit apart, and send energy between your palms. And you may even start to feel it, but it's very gentle, and then you'll think you're making it up, and then you'll tell yourself you can't, blah-de-blah-de-blah. It's fun being human, isn't it? But do it anyway. And if you've got a very plain background behind your hands, sometimes you can see with your physical eyes that energy moving. And the first time that I ever saw it was when I was on an EasyJet flight. Honestly, that was where they'd loaded us all on like sardines in a tin and then didn't have a space to take off, and we were stuck on the runway for an hour and a bit, and I get a little claustrophobic and I don't like it when we're not moving. I'm okay when it's going, but when we're not moving, I found it very much. And so I just sat there and practiced doing that on the aeroplane. And because I was trapped in my seat and I had that focused intention of working on it, I actually saw it, and I nearly, if I wasn't strapped in, I'd probably have jumped out into the air because I couldn't believe it. But sometimes with practice, you can just see it's like a heat wave. It's almost there, but it's not there. And you can see that energy, and that is just fun. So why wouldn't you? Now, I know I mentioned auragraphs earlier, but they are something I absolutely recommend for beginners because they are fun, because they are gratifying, because they create something physical. So an auragraph is a snapshot of somebody's aura. Now, I've had my aura photographed a few times, and if you ever get the opportunity, I highly recommend it. It is super cool. But in the meantime, get out your pens and pencils. If you Google blank auragraphs come up. It's like an outline of a person. Sometimes they're sitting, sometimes they're standing. Pick whichever one you like. If you don't have a printer, draw an outline of a person on a piece of paper. Yeah, it's never going to look quite right, but it doesn't really matter, does it, as long as you know. And what I always do is I will have somebody with me who's agreed to have their aurograph done, either in the physical space with me or not, because it doesn't make any difference. The physical space here is the illusion. Our energetic intentions are stronger than the physical space in which we reside. So wherever you are, wherever person you're working on, they should always have given their permission, but just set your intention. And whichever colour you feel drawn to go with first, just pick that colour up. So say, for example, you've got yellow. I go, okay, I've got yellow here. And I think, where on that person's body do I feel like I want to draw the yellow? And I'll think, I want to draw it here. And I'll start drawing it, and then I'll go a little bit more here, a little bit more there, and it will get bigger. And of course, we're doing an auragraph of the auric field, so it's not just limited to the physical self, it's also the energy that surrounds somebody. And you start to colour that in. And as you colour it in and you follow it, you surrender to it and you feel into it and you think, what does this colour mean? What does it represent? What is it teaching me? What is it showing me? And I really recommend writing notes. But if you've got somebody in front of you, you can just say, I feel like this yellow is congested energy. And I think you've been thinking it's all around your tummy. So it feels to me like you know that you're congested there. And it's actually about you eating healthier and honouring your physical form a bit more and getting things moving in that space. Because I feel like there's a lot of instincts within you that you're not listening to because it all just feels very sluggish and very slow. Does that make sense? So you can either do a whole aurograph, which is you pick up lots of colours, lots of different pictures and go for it, or you do one bit of colour at a time and give the information. When I teach this, I always make people finish the aurograph before they share any of it, because it's a lovely, just quiet, calm, joyful activity. And for those of you that are joining me on the retreat this weekend, I cannot wait. We will be doing auragraphs and psychic readings. We're going to work through all the frequencies. So this is really fun talking about it now because I'm getting super excited. So yeah, so you move into that kind of what does this mean? What am I getting? Kind of trust. And you'll be amazed what you are able to pick up. You will be amazed. One last activity that I also really recommend if you want to expand your psychic abilities is working with pets, if you've got animals, or plants, and just asking to blend with their energy, setting your intention to work psychically, and see what you feel about them. Feel what they are feeling, if they need anything, how they feel about you. Just sit and learn to immerse yourself in their energy field in this space, because there is so much we can learn from doing that. And it's just really bloody marvellous. I mean, my dog will always be, I'm having the worst time ever, because that's his personality. Nobody loves me like they should, but there's also a lot of love there and joy there and a little bit of pain because he's got arthritis. So finding all of those different things and how they represent to me. And Spirit are just reminding me that with colour, if you get yellow for one person and it's congested, when you get yellow for the next person, don't be limited by it. Don't think, okay, well, this is yellow equals congested, because yellow for them could be their power. It could be their aspirations. It could be their potentials. So don't hold yourself to a limitation of your interpretation of the colour. Follow it. I hope that this has made sense. I feel like I just want to go over auragraphs one more time. I hope that's okay. So you have a blank outline of a human body. Sometimes they have chakras drawn on them. Just ignore the chakras. Don't get convoluted with it. Just follow your own instincts, and don't forget to use the empty space around the physical. We are not just limited to our physical bodies. We are so much more than that. Start with whichever colour you feel drawn to, and then intuitively just ask the energy, where does this colour start? And as you are colouring it, follow it. It will say to you, and a bit over here, or do this bit a bit darker, or do this bit like that. And the key is not to just go, okay, and do it, but go, why does it need to be darker there? What is that representing? What is this colour telling me? What does it mean? And then you'll finish with that colour and you'll think, actually, I feel like I want to do this colour now. And this colour is over here and I'm doing this colouring and it looks like this and it feels like this. And you'll follow that and you'll say, what does this colour mean? What does this represent? Why is it here on their body? Why is it here in their energy body? Is it old? Is it new? Is it coming? Is it going? Really, really important with all forms of mediumship, whatever frequency you're in, to not just be passive and, okay, this is what they said and this is how it will be, but to be why? Why is it there? What does it mean? What is the understanding I need from this? What do I need to tell them? I hope that that is clear as mud. I hope it's clearer than mud. I hope that you do this and give it a go. And please do send me a copy of your aurograph. Take a photo of it and email it to me or put it on social media, because I would love to see it. The key is not to be limited by other people's. Every aurograph I do is different, because every time I'm working, I'm interpreting that energy through my knowing differently. And it's the same for you. So open up into lots of different spaces, lots of different ways of doing, and try, if you can, not to look at other people's auragraphs and become limited by them. It's almost better to do them when you haven't got a clue how it's going to look. But I know that if it was me, I'd be all over Google. I think I might have one on my social media, actually. I might share it for you. So just allow it to teach you and show you, and get used to interpreting and feeling energy. And there's some great activities to get you started. Now, I'm sure that I've gone down a rabbit hole and there's still 1,000 questions that you all have about psychic. So hold me to account. Email podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk and I will answer your questions to make sure that you are all getting the clarity that you need. Now, one last thing that I wanted to say to you all, I've got a new in-person residential 3 nights Mediumship Matters retreat in October 2023. It's based on mediumship, evidential mediumship. So if you are wanting to expand your mediumship practice, it's meant for people who have at least done a spirit link before, so understand the basics of it. And it's all about building confidence, learning to unlock your power, opening up to new forms of energy and evidence, and expanding your limitations, and leaving that space and that weekend just feeling a little bit more empowered and able to work in new and exciting ways. And it's limited to only 14 people. So we all get to hang out together, we get to learn together and just spend a fantastic time together. And I would love to have you there. So you can find out the details for that on my website, hannahmedium.co.uk. Really super excited. Right, guys, I will speak to you again tomorrow. Have a lovely day.